Running a Fever, Episode 16, The Good Things About Running in Winter.
Welcome to Running a Fever, and a good morning to you. It's 5:28 in the morning, and the word for this morning is cold. It is very cold out today. The weather on my phone says 35 degrees. And it's not the first time it's hit 35 degrees this year, but it's a little different when you're hopping in the car and going to work as to when you're going to spend 40 to 50 minutes out in the cold, which is what I'm about to do. I did collect my stats for the last week or so last night into my spreadsheet, and I noticed that I'm getting the last 2 or 3 times when I've been over 2.5 miles, I've been working out for 50 to 55 minutes, something thereabouts. So we're looking at almost an hour workout. And it is, I think the highest number I had was 2.8 something for distance. So we're approaching 3 miles. And that's with the automatic setting, which is, I know I was walking more than 2.5. It didn't seem like that much more, but we'll see. Close enough. It's an automatic thing. So it doesn't appear that it's recording the time that I drive to the park. So that's good. Got another thing going tonight. Going to meet someone. This is about another podcast endeavor that I'm involved in. I will mention it on here when I get to the point, but it's not quite at launch yet. It's a little more involved than this one, a lot more people involved. So need to get the run out of the way this morning. Look forward to it. The cold, of course now I'm in my car, so it doesn't seem that bad, but I know that once I get going, then the cold is going to feel good. I have lived in Massachusetts and experienced temperatures of minus 20, not uncommon at all. So it can get much worse than this. Hopefully it won't be as windy today. We'll have a good run. We'll talk a little bit about chafing, I guess. I've been wanting to kind of get this in. Not a pleasant topic. Probably not a big deal if you're a nurse or a doctor or maybe even a serious runner. I don't know if serious runners get this. The typical runner physiology does not look like it's a problem, but I think perhaps for someone who's overweight like myself, for women, maybe, if you're built a certain way, regardless of what kind of shape you're in, that you're going to have problems with chafing. And so, it's basically just your legs rubbing together. So it's not good because you're rubbing your skin and causing abrasion. So it's important to wear appropriate gear. So that's why you see sometimes people wearing these tight running tights and stuff. You don't have to wear that on the outside. You can wear clothes, underwear that's does the same thing. Important to do that. I had a day earlier this week when I had some chafing, but just something to learn and something. We're going to be real here. We might as well just talk about whatever needs to be talked about. And if you're starting out like I am and learning as you go, then it's one of the things that you probably need to learn. There it is, chafing and underwear talk again. All right, I'm going to get out in this cold and see how it goes.
Okay, on the trail, and it's dark. It's dark, and I saw several cars in the lot, but not really see anybody out here yet. It's nice and quiet, really. I still hear cars on the busy roads in the distance, but not on this one right close to us. The moon is out and it's still waxing, almost full. At least so it looks like. It may have a few days left. Maybe as much as a week, but probably not. This is the kind of cold. I felt different kinds of cold in my life, and the coldest I've ever felt was on the quarterdeck of the USS Midway in Yokosuka, Japan. In the winter, standing watch. It was very windy, and that sticks in my mind is what I call bone-chilling cold. Not really like that today, but it's the kind of cold that can really get into your bones if you were to just be standing or sitting around in it, which fortunately I'm not doing. And visibility darkness is quite a concern of mine. Right now, I'm talking into the phone, and the phone is kind of lighting up my face. So that helps, I'm sure. It doesn't help to have a bright moon out there. I remember, of course, it got dark on me last night, but it was cloudy, and you couldn't even see the moon. So it wasn't much help. Although I don't remember it being quite, well, it was maybe a little darker than it is now, but not much. So again, look at my stats. So it's kind of course, it just really sticks out that I'm not running as much as I'm walking, because it's not on there, and the watch doesn't, I guess, pick up running, or maybe I'm running so slow that it thinks that I'm walking, but anyway, it's not really showing the run, so, but I know I'm running more than a quarter mile. But out of 2.5 miles, it's not really much. I mean, I think I could get up to a half, and I hope that I'll be able to do that within the next week or so. But it's already kind of amazing. I started less than a month ago, I guess, and I, at that time, was thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't have started out walking a whole, half mile or whatever. And now I'm running, or going for 2.5, almost 3. Maybe I could get to 3 miles today. We'll see. Just have to get to work. The last time, this is the earliest I've been out in the morning. The last time I came out in the morning, I intended to be out this early, but, an accident with my, wasn't really an accident. I guess I just didn't realize it was a mistake. I thought my clock was set for a certain time, or my alarm, and it was set for another hour after that. So yes, it's dark and cold, just like the far reaches of space. There is life out there. I wonder if anybody out there is doing this kind of thing. Probably has a lot to do with gravity. So I am wearing the watch at night now. I found online that there were a bunch of people that wear their watch all the time, their fitness watch, and they'll charge it, because that was the question I had. Well, when do you charge it? And they usually, they'll charge it when they're having a shower or whatever. And, just if you charge it for an hour, it can actually last a couple of days. And my resting heart rate is averaging between, I think it was 50 something and 70. But I think lately the low has been in the 50s, which is good. I don't want it to be lower than that. But I think that's about where I have been historically. Everything looks different at this time of day and sounds different. There are no squirrels rustling around. I guess they're all asleep. So coming up on the half-mile point, and I think today I will keep on going and keep on talking. Usually I get half-mile in and I go ahead and start my run. But this will give me more time to work out. More time to warm up. And since unlike the last few days, or a few times out, it's fairly quiet and wind-free. It allows me to record more than I've recorded probably in the last few sessions out on the trail. Of course, I'll have to adjust. Interesting. My screen locked, but the recorder didn't stop. There's a runner. First one I've seen today, other than myself. So, yeah, usually I start there and I run past the 0.75 mile mark. So if I start at 0.75, I know roughly where the 0.5 is, and I know roughly where the 0.25 is. I think I'm going to go ahead and shoot for the half mile today, and I don't think I'll get there, but that's going to be my goal. I was feeling pretty good yesterday, so I need to work on pushing myself and not being comfortable. I think that's going to be the key. The more I start running is, okay, I'm already running, throwing my 270 pounds up in the air and bringing it down again without crashing, breaking my bones and crashing through the earth. Can I actually go beyond that, move forward at a faster pace, at a higher level of intensity? And, we're not talking about really intense, like a serious runner. I say I'm serious enough, but a serious, experienced runner. But in terms of my, scope of possibilities, that's all we have is our own capabilities. So it's time to start stretching out and ramping up for this run portion. So I'm going to sign off for now and see how this goes. Well, I know that coming in here I was kind of complaining about how cold it was, but I want to talk about some of the good things. But now that I'm all warmed up, of course, some of the good things about working out in the wintertime. But first, a word from my sponsor. Today's attire, knit cap and knit gloves that were very comfortable and very soft and very warm, were provided by my mom, who is a master knitter, and my mom, and a master knitter, which is a good thing to have around. If you can get both together, you are in the high cotton with the big dogs. And the only way you can contact her is through me, so please comment on this episode at runningafever.com or mail at runningafever.com. Well, in wintertime you get, bugs. Obviously, cooling of your body is better once you get going. When I'm mowing my yard, I sometimes have irritation in my eyes because of the dust and grass and
things that fly up, and have a feeling there might be some of that when I'm running in warmer weather. So those are things that are nice about the wintertime, and hopefully I'll think about those on the way to my next really cold run, of which I'm sure there are going to be many before we're done this winter. Car thermometer says 41 degrees now. Very exciting news here, I think. Very motivating. Just like when I reached the 2.5 mile point, I have reached almost the half-mile point of the run portion of my workout. I ran, and I say it was probably about 90%. Here's the thing, I need to talk to, some people who know more about this. I split it up into 2 runs. The first one, I couldn't make it to a quarter mile. And I felt like I wasn't getting enough oxygen. Now, from what I know and remember about physics, remember I'm a English major with a master's in philosophy, so I'm not a physicist or any kind of educated scientist. But it seems to me that you should be able to move a bigger volume of air when it's warmer, but that volume of air, because it's compressed, should give you more oxygen when it's cold. So I'm not sure if I'm right about that. I'm going to see. I don't really know any scientists. There's got to be somebody who knows that kind of stuff. Or I could just use the old Googles on that to see. Yeah, but one way or another, I'm gonna find out what happened. But anyway, so I didn't. At the time, I didn't even realize how far I'd gone because I didn't remember exactly where the marker was. And then I found out it was probably about 50 yards. Probably about 50 yards that I went, that I was short on my first quarter mile. So, I continued to walk, and again, it was dark, and there's definitely safety issues. I came across a group of runners that fortunately had headlamps on, so I was able to see them, and they were able to see me. Apart from that other lone runner who was just like I am, very unreflective and unlighted. So, concerned about safety, really, it's at the top of my list to get something reflective or a headlamp or something like that. So, because it was so dark, I didn't go into the big bad woods on the other end of the course, which is where I think I have spoken about. I've only been that way once, and it was much more interesting visually. Didn't go into the woods, but I did go well beyond 2.5 miles. Could be 3 miles today, we'll see what the watch says later on. And I came back, I did a lot of talking up to the 3/4 mile point, and then I walked away. I walked all the way out to the woods, and then came back, and at that mile marker that I had reached the first time, I said, well, I'm going to start here and see if I can run, at least pick up what I missed. And then wouldn't it be great if I could run a whole quarter mile? And I did. So that, I feel really good about that. Again, not a whole quarter mile, but so today is exactly 7 days after the date that I set my goal. And I was reminded as I was, walking in, that my goal is not just to run 2 laps of the course all at once, but to run 2 laps of the course in one day. So perhaps this was good practice for that. 1 week in, I've got 51 weeks to go, and I'm already at a half mile in one day. That's probably the biggest thing today. This goal seems much more possible. When it seems impossible, you got to keep going. But it's great when you have a little bit of progress, especially after a recent couple of days that have kind of been rough, and a day that I didn't run at all. Come to think of it, that was my last morning run. I didn't even think about not running this morning. I did feel a little bit of soreness, and it's kind of an old back, not injury, but it's some kind of nerve thing in my back. But I know that working out, physical activity helped me overcome that before and now as well. So I'm not going to let that stop me. I know that I'm only doing well for myself when I continue to exercise through that little twinge that happens. Not debilitating at all. Really good day, and I'm glad that you were able to share it with me. So until next time, keep the fever.
You're listening to the Padua Podcasts Network, PaduaMedia.com.